Hey there, beloved Ascension pioneers. I want to talk about life force energy today. I want to talk about our diets, our food. Basically, many of you has been asking me, to speak on the subject because a lot of you are transitioning in diet right now, and diet is a part of the Ascension path because, like I say, all levels go hand in hand directly. So a lot of you are switching to raw vegan diet as well, and I just want to share my journey. All I can do is share my own journey. I cannot speak about something from the mind if I'm not doing it myself. I cannot share my experiences that way. I can just share them if I'm experiencing things as I go along my journey. I'm being guided to make this video because of these calls out, these shout outs of the people to speak more about the subject. And I'll mostly always focus on the spiritual aspect of things because this is who I am. This is the Polona that wishes to bring you the message of the spiritual side, because a lot of the people speak about diet and transitions and more from the physical approach, which is great because it's needed, and I'm a down-to-earth person as well. I cherish my physicality, so I will also look at the physical approach, but my purpose, my mission is to share the spiritual truth and about vibration and how energy works. So I will try to focus a bit on the physical, but that you can find more on other channels, and you can see links. Some of the links I will post, some of the things I really like that are shared about this and through certain people, individuals who are doing the work. Check down below for the links. And all food is basically energy, so we cannot just forget about this aspect when we are in our ascension journey. So this feeding system that we have either hinders or supports our ascension journey, and either raises or lowers our vibration. And we are each responsible to hold our vibration, the highest quotient of light. So I'll also try to bust some myths right now about these types of eating, like veganism. But before I start sharing my perspective and my experience, I would like to show this book. It's Eating in the Light from Doreen Virtue. I never read it. I have it at home. It's a tiny booklet. I ordered it like probably 2 years ago. And probably 3 days ago, I just took it in my hands and I was reminded, yeah, that's right. A lot of the people wanted me to do video on this. So I kind of just skipped through it. I browsed through it. It's a lot of the things I don't need to read about this because I know this. But I wanted to discuss some things from the book. And I also have a surprise at the end of the video, so please bear with me towards the end of the video. It's right here at the beginning, you have, for instance, the types of vegetarians that are quoted and stated here, because apparently there's so many types, and like it says here, occasionally we hear someone say, oh, a vegetarian is someone who doesn't eat beef. And it's very funny, right? Because a lot of the people have told me too that they're vegetarians, and then they say they eat fish. And here you have like this whole see, you have this separated into different types of vegetarians. I don't know where I would fall under, probably raw foodists. It says what they eat: uncooked vegetables, fruits, and nuts, but I also eat seeds. So then you also have fruitarians who eat fruits and fruit juices, then vegan, grains, legumes, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. I also eat legumes. So some partly vegan and raw food vegan both. But like I say, it's not about labels, people. That's what I'm going to focus more on the spiritual aspect now. But before I do, I would like to read some physical aspects from this book. And they're not all just physical, but I'll start with 6 vegetarian myths that are written here in the page 64. There are 6 myths that are really funny, especially for us who are in this path for a while now. First is, I will not get enough protein in my diet, which is not true. Of course it's not true. Especially you have to know about spinach and its amazing power of its protein. And a lot of the people say that animal protein beats plant protein, which is not true. Our cells are reacting very differently to plant protein than to animal protein. And basically, when we digest dead carnal, flesh from animals and other things that are just dead, also dairy products, it's all dead as well. We basically, our body treats that as kind of like a poison. So a lot of detoxins are being built in our body as that food flows through our system, our digestion, and it's really heavy for our digestive system. And when we are in the Ascension path, we want our digestive system to be as fast as it can, because what we're doing now, we're processing emotions fast, we're processing our mental patterns fast. So if we're eating dense foods, then the body can follow it, because the body, you have to know, it's like a gentle inner child, and the body will always be the last to know, the last to follow this process. So basically our spirit is already there in the ascended state. Our body needs to ascend. We came here to ascend with our bodies, to ascend together with the planet, to go into the new cycle of living, to kind of become this new species, evolved species, an evolved human being. So we're basically transforming our bodies. That's where the diet is so important, because it's a part of our physical living. So you have to treat your body like a poor, gentle child, and you have to care for it. You know, whenever it needs rest, you give it a rest. Whenever it needs other kind of nurture, you give it nurture. So a lot of the times people confuse feeling stressed and not nurtured by the self enough, and not having enough time for yourself, especially if you don't give, I mean, you're not open to the self-love that you are basically as a being. You might feel that you will have cravings, and you think that you have cravings because you need food, or you need nutritional value, but basically you need love. I mean, you are love, but you're not open to it. So there's a lot of the things that, you know, people confuse energetically, and they think it has to come from the external sources. So, you know, when people say, oh, I need serotonin, I will eat chocolate, it's not always the case, you see. So the second myth is animal protein is superior to plant protein, which I just said, which is not true. Being a vegetarian means only eating salads. Also not true. I will lose muscle mass if I'm a vegetarian. That's also not true. But basically, you have to watch out to have balance. And my video will be all about balance. And I'll talk to this more about this as I finish reading from the book. Fifth one is, it's difficult to be a vegetarian. Well, yeah, everything is a perspective, and you know that everything is always how you will perceive it. If you feel that your journey of ascension is difficult, it's so hard, and you just, all you feel is like a victim, and you need to do it, and you have to have all this preparation, and you know, we all sometimes feel that. We just keep doing the work, And I was just listening to this radio show with Archangel Michael yesterday, and he said a lot of you feel that you want to just quit sometimes. But you worked so far, you know, worked so hard to be so far, to come so far, to be where you are now. And it's true, we did. And we're not going to just quit. But there's a difference to feeling that a couple of times, maybe when you're really tired because your body is going through so many changes and ascension symptoms and everything. And there's a whole other thing when people just, oh, I think this is so difficult and everything in life is so difficult. When you see everything is really in flow and sacred, you won't feel that way anymore, you know. It's all about shifting your perspective. Also about your diet. If you think, oh, yuck, you know, I can shift, and you're basically not ready yet. Because when you're ready vibrationally, you will be like, oh my God, you know, this will be a swift change. It will be like your spirit guidance, which tells you something like this from your feeling side of life, and you just know it's divine guidance, and you just go for it. It's the same with food. A lot of the people can make this transition overnight if they're ready, but those who are not ready will maybe struggle for years. And it's the same with addiction. You know, for instance, people who smoke. For years, they're trying to have that, you know, find that approach that will help them to shift and will help them to kind of lose the addiction. But before they go to the root, to the core of the matter, they will never will. You see, it's the same with shifting in diet. Before we get to the root and basically raise our vibration from that root and from our core, that we really open up. You know, we cannot feed only on life-sustainable energy, which is universal energy, if we're not tuned into that. So that's why a lot of the people need dense foods, because they're not tapped into source energy, period. That's all there is. Sixth myth is being a vegetarian is time consuming. Oh yeah, you know, all that time putting that chicken in the oven, and wow, it's so time consuming. It's basically, you know, the more simple your life is, the more simple your eating habits are, the more simplified your life is, the more time you have for yourself. You know, sometimes it's good to have, what's it called? Gourmet, or I don't know, kind of raw food living and eating when you make all kinds of recipes and stuff. It's good. It's really good to kind of spice up your life. Like I was sharing yesterday the dessert recipes, how you make vegan pies and organic, of course, raw organic desserts. It's really good sometimes, you know, to spice things up, to use a bit of your imagination, that you don't just eat grass. You know, people think we eat grass. It's very funny. So it's all up to you to kind of, kind of treat yourself sometimes, and that's a good part of it. But also what our body needs at most times is food that is simple. Not all sorts of food groups mixed together, which, I like that kind of raw salad, which I put everything in it. Also put dressing from the nuts and seeds and goji berries and raisins, and then a bit of orange and broccoli and kale and everything mixed all together. So it's kind of like a sugary, sour, salty kind of mixture. It's really good. But if we would always eat so complex, our body has to digest all the different types of foods, and kind of, it's kind of heavy sometimes, especially the more you're light, the more you want to eat simple foods and in a simple way. Also, before I share the spiritual perspective of this is, I was reminded of the magical messages from the Fairies Oracle deck, and I was reminded that there's this beautiful card called Vegetarian here in this deck. I'm hoping you can see it. So you can see this beautiful fairy, sitting, and everything around her is green. And basically, shifting to green is shifting to life force energy, because green is the color of healing, of photosynthesis. It's a natural process. So all the plants and all the things that grow in nature and receive the sun will get the same light codes that you do. But the food that is processed does not. Either if it did in a certain phase of its evolution, then it got really ruined by the process. There was no more life force energy in that. So a lot of the people, what they do, they're disconnected from their source, and they eat that food. So how can they tune into their source? Basically, they cannot. They go around in cycles. So this card says, a new way of eating gives you more energy, greater health, clarity, and stronger manifestation abilities, which is true. The more light you eat, the more sensitive you will become and attuned to your guidance. A lot of the people also drink coffee or alcohol. That's also not good for the ascension path. I've made an automatic writing about this because this person asked me about coffee, and I said that, if it's in balance, it's okay. But a lot of the people are heavy coffee drinkers. And although you will say everything's natural anyway, but certain foods like coffee have certain ingredients in them, certain substances, so to say, that are, in a way, can cause you to become kind of codependent, addicted upon them. Kind of have these, like coffee and certain other plants. I think you have maca in Peru, which you can use an additional, like a supplement for your feeding system. That's how I say it. It sounds funny. But a lot of these foods are there to increase your energy levels, which is good. But a lot of the people who are not ready yet, they're vibrationally, it can cause them to want and crave these foods. Whenever there's cravings, you know that you're not within balance. And I'll speak about balance in this video. But before, I want to read this message. The fairies know that fresh garden food is the healthiest and most natural way to live. And it's true. The healthiest diet will always consist of mostly fresh fruits and vegetables. I can't eat them always fresh because I don't have a garden, but I do go to local organic market every Saturday here. You're guided to follow the fairies' wisdom and eat lots of vegetables, fruits, legumes, and nuts, especially your organic variety. This card validates your feelings to eat a more vegetarian or even vegan diet. Vegan. A lot of the people who eat vegetarian lifestyle are not healthy at all because they think they're supplementing the protein and whatever not with cheese. And they even eat more cheese than, even worse than people who eat meat sometimes, because dairy is really bad. And in cheese you have this, like I was speaking in one of my videos, the substance that they put from a tiny cow baby's belly. They put that in order for cheese to become cheese, because a lot of people don't know how cheese is made. But it's basically nothing vegetarian there. There are animals' body parts there, so it's not vegetarian in nature. So for me, someone who says, I eat fish, that person for me is not a vegetarian. I'm sorry. For vegetarian, someone who will not eat something that, but that's my perspective. It's not someone who still eats something that has its own lifespan, and just, there's a difference as to how and why plants were created in this planet to sustain our system until we feed only by liquid light, like we already did, when we were still light beings here on this planet. before we decreased in our evolutionary stage in order to come up again. And this is happening now. So this shift in your eating patterns will yield positive changes such as clearer thinking, increased psychic abilities, and more energy. As to fairies, because they're working with the elemental energy, and these plants and everything like fruits, this is all elemental energy. You know, this is all part of this energy, and you can work with them to assist you in transitioning as well, because what you desire here is a smooth transition, not doing anything by force, because you need to be vibrationally ready for this. So it says, ask the fairies to assist you with this change, and they'll gladly do so, including helping your own garden to yield a bumper crop of produce. Yeah, anyway, this is a beautiful card and beautiful message. And about life energy, you have some really great writings in this book. It says, life force in foods. Still reading from the same book. When an apple is growing on a tree, drinking in the sunlight, it's filled with the energy of life. That energy is what we call life force, or source energy. Once the apple is picked, it still contains much of its life force. The life force keeps the apple firm, juicy, and sweet. However, several variables can affect its life force. I'm sorry, it's kind of dark. Have a chance to read it well. Time. The longer the apple is off the tree, the less life force it has. Freshly picked produce has the most life force of any food. As the produce's life force wears off over time, it becomes wilted and loses its flavor. That's true. Temperature. The body of an apple in many ways is no different from your body. If you were boiled, microwaved, frozen, or steamed, your body could not survive. Produce loses its life force as it is cooked or frozen. Preparation. In the same way, when an apple is juiced or sliced, its life force doesn't last for long. A lot of the people forget about this. Think of how long an apple slice usually lasts before wilting. It's really dark. I need to get my light. Compare this to the length of time that a whole apple lasts without wilting. Anytime we process food, we reduce its life force. When produce is juiced, its life force only stays in the juice for about 20 minutes. Packaging. Highly processed foods usually come in cans, boxes, or in the freezer. In the same way that your body couldn't survive these unnatural conditions, neither can the life force in food survive. Whenever you eat a canned or freeze-dried product, it means that the food has no life force. It's true. Pain. Food that comes from animals, including dairy products, carries the energy of how the animal was treated during its life and slaughter. Animal products have very little, if any, life force in them. None. Eating the flesh or dairy products from a pain-filled animal can have a negative effect on you, reducing your ability to utilize life force energy in general. So basically, when you're eating plants or fruits, you're just collecting the same light codes from the sun that these foods receive that you are when you yourself are bathing in the sun. Like when you're sun gazing, you're receiving the same light. And also for me, when I go to the mountains, I'm just filled up by that prana there. And for instance, this is the same, but the flesh of the animal, the killed energy, the dead energy will cause the opposite. It will cause you to not uplift, but it will go down in energy, and it will bring these energies into your body because you're bringing that energy in your body. You're fusing it. So you have a responsibility for your body, firstly to become aware of it and then to make changes accordingly. Okay, there's also pesticides. Insecticides carry the energy of death, as the word literally means kill pest, you see? So we're also, again, getting that in our body system. It's not just about the elements that it has, but also the energy of death. Just like ingesting pain energy, when we eat foods that have a pesticide residue, the death energy lowers our spiritual frequency and vitality. For this reason, organic food has more life force than foods grown with pesticides. That's true. Even though sometimes, it doesn't come out so pretty looking, it's good, especially if it was not forced, or protected by these, fertilizers. For instance, the apple on itself develops these antioxidants. These are the substances that will cause the apple to stay strong, no matter what the outer circumstances. So the apple that was not chemically, put to that safe place for protection through fertilizers and things like that, or pesticides, insecticides, it will develop its own natural protection, and that's antioxidants. And the apple that was basically altered in a way that, you know, it was put in a safe place to grow, then it doesn't develop these same qualities. Size. Medium-sized fresh fruits and vegetables have more life force than those that are small or large. You know, the large ones basically just contain water and that's it. Small produce is too yin, meaning that its life force is still developing. Large produce is too yang, meaning that its life force is beyond its peak. That's interesting. The yin and yang. Foods that are grown above the ground in the bright sunshine have an expanding yang force, while foods grown below the ground in the earth mother embrace a contracting yin force. So it's all about balance again. You see, this whole message of this video is about balance. Embrace a contracting yin force, we said. So the mother. Above ground yang foods open our psychic gifts and spiritual energy. The below ground yin foods help to ground us and are helpful if you ever feel spaced out. You know, like carrots, potatoes, beets, things like that. I love these types of food. I really do. I guess because I'm always too high in spirit, I really love these foods to ground me. Additives. Preservatives, refined sugar, caffeine, white flour, hormones, and other additives have very little life force. You see, caffeine is here as well. They also have the ability to block us from enjoying our own natural life force. You see, so you basically put external life force, something that will enhance your energy level, but you're not, again, tapping into your source. The whole idea is for foods to help to support our body so we can more easily tap into source, not by us becoming addicted to our foods and think that they're the ones who are feeding us energy. You see, that's the whole spiritual nature of this. The result is that we feel sluggish because we're cut off from our own life force. Unfortunately, when we feel tired, we often become careless with our eating habits and eat more fast food and sugary snacks. And now with the conclusion of this reading, there's much more in this book. But I have a surprise for all of you. Whoever stayed with me long enough, endured during this video, whoever writes me a message on Polona at ascension-pioneers.org and sends me their pink photo for my community project will receive in mail. Please give me also your address. If I choose you, you will be giving me your address and you'll get this food, not this food. You'll get this book about the foods, okay? So especially if you're one of those who's still in transition in your diet, please, I would love for someone like that to receive this book. So if you're already vegan, I would recommend you to step out of the way and let someone who's transitioning right now to get this book. Because I was really guided to send this to someone because I don't need it. And I feel that the right person is about to get it. So please feel free to message me and I will send you, you know, shipping free the book, okay? It's just me and I like to give things if I'm nudged so by spirit. So the whole conclusion here is about balance. There's a lot of people who become very extreme in their diets. For instance, I would look at this book and I would say, oh my God, I'm not a complete raw food vegan because I still eat seeds and legumes sometimes. Oh gosh, you know, I need to get that out of my diet, but I don't, because the whole idea, like I said, is about us to tuning into our abilities, tune into your inner spirit, what your soul guides you towards, you know, that it's good for you to eat. And when you will listen to yourself, not others, you will feel what is vibrationally equal to you right now. And what supports your body, what supports your matrix system, what supports your light codes. Because like I said, food is meant as something like an external energy force, but in a way that will help us support to tap into our source easier. Not to become dependent upon it and think that food is our source. Source is our source. It's the same with money, the abundance, everything is about the source. So if you will eat light foods, fruits, vegetables, you know, a plant-based diet, you will tap into your source so much easily because your vibration will be that of life force, not of dead, stagnant energy. But when you do the opposite, it will be much more difficult for you to tap into your source. Because like I said, a lot of the people have lost their higher self connection. A lot of the people think they have it because they're intuitive, but everyone is intuitive. It's the natural sense of any being. We are all sentient beings, so we're all intuitive. not all people listen to their intuition, but we are all sensitive beings who sense. This is our sensory system, the intuition, but it's not the same as your source connection, because so many people are not connected to their source. The way they eat will show that, the way they still allow their ego to dominate their true soul essence show that, and a lot of the other factors show that they're not tuned to their source. And self-love, which is basically the origin that you're created within, which is perfection of divine love and union, Christed consciousness. So my main message is about balance, and it's not so much about going into extreme recipes and eating complex combinations of food, sometimes monotype diet as well, you know, eating mono foods, whatever you feel that you crave in a moment, but be very observant if you still have cravings. I just watched this video today from a woman who lives, I'll share her channel below. She lives with parents who eat cooked food, and she said, I have no cravings, so I don't have any problems with that. So you see, it's all about you. When you make the transition from your soul, you won't have any cravings. I never have cravings anymore. I like sweet things sometimes, but I like them, you know, but I don't overdo. I don't overdo them. They're not an addiction for me. It's not like if I wouldn't eat a pie, or organic pie, for, I don't know, for 5 days, I'd be like shaking. So notice yourself. Notice where you still have cravings. Notice when you're making the transition from the ego and control instead of real, true spirit guidance of your soul. And make your transition light. It's all about balance. So it's different foods. Some will be more alkaline for our body, and some will be more acid, forming acids when we digest them in our body. It's not that we just shift, we say, oh, no, acid foods are bad, and we're going to only shift to alkaline diet. Yeah, mostly we have to, because this is supporting our carbon-based bodies to shift into the crystalline matrix. Basically, the alkaline foods are doing this. This is my spirit guidance telling me. So it's not just about making this something that is of the extreme, because not all food that is acid forming is bad as well, because seeds and legumes, I've just heard, do that as well. Not just meat and dairy products and eggs, but especially that as well, and nuts as well. But if you combine this in a perfect balance, like it's all always about the yin and yang, like it says here in the book, perfect balance of yin and yang. Ground foods, upwards foods. So we're not just light beings, because when we have a human vessel, we're also human beings. So our main focus is to eat locally. You know, in our local environment here, there's a lot of potatoes, and in the winter, there's a lot of kind of vegetables that grow under the earth, and they're very grounding. And you can hardly eat those foods raw, and you can't eat potatoes raw. And I was just looking at these videos from this woman today, and she was explaining that a lot of the vegans, raw food vegans, will say that eating cooked foods is bad for you at all, but it's not like that. Again, she was mentioning that balance. She was mentioning the transition, and that some foods are meant to be eaten like that. And I cherish so much the guidance of the people who are not into extremes, who cherish both sides of the equation, the Mother Earth and the Father Sun, both aspects. But like I said, the transition can come from the soul, and your soul will guide you towards the right feeling of what is good for you. So below the ground foods, above the ground foods, but basically plant and fruit diet. And don't go into extremes also, because the extremes are usually coming from the ego, or your soul going into some part of the polarity. They're still showing you where you have polarity, where you express too much governance of just one area of you, but you're not allowing your whole you to be expressed. For me, I love to eat a balanced diet. Mostly, I eat raw organic foods now. I start my day with like I said, with a juice, with a green smoothie, fruits and vegetables both mixed, but it's always green. Sometimes a bit reddish because I add the leaves from beets. But it's also, I eat a lot of nuts and seeds as well sometimes, and it's just how I feel like it. If I feel like I'll eat legumes, I'll do that, and also quinoa. I don't know what's it called in English, but it's really good for you, and other things as well. not all grains are bad. I would never eat wheat anymore because I'm too sensitive. And you know, a lot of the foods that are basically not bad have been altered and genetically modified too much. So they've kind of lost their true nature. For instance, soya, you know, soy and corn, also rice, apparently lately a lot. But you know, it is as it is. But I think Mother Nature will restore its balance on many levels in years to come. So it's only up to us to keep doing the work that we do, to support organic farmers, to support all nature in such a way that we will not just say, oh, it's so time consuming to go to organic market, or it's so time consuming, it's so not really, it's too costly for me to shift to organic, it's too expensive for me. It's not true, because you will crave less foods and you know, you won't eat so much. A lot of the people buy so much because they're constantly hungry, because they keep eating that energy and they don't get any energy from that food. They just get matter. You know, you just put matter into your body, which is not flowy, vibrant energy kind of matter. So basically what you get is excess energy, which will then result in what you poop, basically. So it has a lot to do with you seeking your internal balance. And when your internal balance will be achieved, you will also feel that everything in your life will mirror that balance. The way you eat, the way you think, the way you feel, everything will be in balance. And you won't go into what other person says is good and healthy. You will try to balance the different aspects, the physical aspects of you in your feeding system, the spiritual side, the emotional side, the mental side, everything. But like I said, the spiritual side is always where the truth is. And if we want to shift back to our organic, natural state as we were, as we truly are as light beings, we need to keep shifting in a way that we will shift to light food. And like I said, it won't carry us away from this earth, but it will keep us more in tune. It will support our process of ascension and us connecting and tapping into our source more. So remember, balance. Everything in life is about balance. I hope you message me, and I know that the right person will get this book. I'll talk to you soon, and think about the spiritual nature of all things. That's always the first one to consider, and then make the physical changes. Okay, I love you, my pioneers. Take care. Bye.